So a lot of people grow things. A lot of people sell things from their farm, but that doesn't necessarily make them a farmer.
Hi, my name is Lisa Boz, and my husband David and I have been farming in Finland, Minnesota on Round River Farm for 30 years, over 30 years. And we have done lots of different kinds of farming. Right now, we have about an acre in vegetable production and 2 to 3 acres in orchard and pasture. About halfway through our farming careers, I got an accounting and tax degree, thinking that it would help clarify some of the questions I had or worries I had about how we were doing our financing and taxes. And what I learned in getting that is that it's actually not as black and white as I thought. And there's a lot of gray in farm finances and the decisions that you make, and a lot of judgment calls to make. And so these farm finance snippets are to give you some food for thought on what you should think about as you plan your own farm financing and businesses.
There are two different ways to look at it. For farm census purposes, if you make $1,000, you're counted as a farmer. But that's different from the IRS, who wants to know whether you're operating your farm like a business. And they take different things into account than just money. They might actually look at whether you're having fun or not, but that isn't the only thing they use to determine that. They want to see that you are operating your farm like a business, that you're being serious, you're keeping records, you have a separate bank account, you are recording your expenses, recording your income, and you have documents to verify that you market and that you operate in a professional manner, that when you're selling your produce or your animals or whatever, and that you're making decisions that are appropriate, that aren't flippant, or that are with the intention of improving your profitability. Also, that you don't necessarily have to be making a profit, but that is your intention to make a profit. And that can be for growing vegetables, it can be for raising animals, it can be for a variety of what you would consider farm-like operations. It applies to all of that, and they can be combined. They take into account whether you're trying to improve your expertise as well. So you're reading books, you're taking classes, you're spending the time on your enterprise. And so those are the kinds of things that determine whether you're a business versus a hobby. And that affects the tax consequences of the money that you earn from selling those products that you're raising as a farmer. And the impact of that is that if you're a farmer, and operating as a farm business, you can take a loss on your taxes. And some people on a large scale, especially, can use it as a tax write-off. If you're making money from another job, which most, if not all, well, maybe not all, but most farmers, have other income coming into their household. And so you can take a loss if you're operating as a business, a legitimate business, and that can help your bottom line on the taxes that you owe. If you're determined to be a hobby, however, if you're not operating in a business-like manner, you're supposed to claim your income, and you can claim your expenses, but if you have a loss, you don't get to claim that loss. You can't have a negative impact on your overall income. And so there's a benefit to being a business, not just a hobby. And you should know and keep that in mind as you make your decisions about what you grow and how you proceed in your farming operations.
So how long can you go with how many years?
Yes. So the officially, you have to show a profit 3 out of 5 years to be considered a farm. And 2 out of 7 years if you're a horse breeder. So they give you more time. A lot of farms can go for many years, especially in startup phase. We went 10 years before we broke even. The IRS never questioned it. And they won't question it if you show a profit 3 out of 5 consecutive tax years. There would be no reason for them to come and see that whether you're doing things legitimately. And they still might not, question it after 10 years. They didn't question us, but we were clearly in startup phase. And so it took a long time to build up the capital. And so there's of course, your intention is to make a profit, but also the reality of farming is that you often don't. And so that's not a make or break thing on whether you can consider yourself a farm business.
Once you start acting like a business, you are a business. You can file your tax forms under your social security number, and you are a business, even though it's your personal social security number. You may want to get an employer ID number, which is a federal number that would identify your business. You may need a state revenue number if you need to file for various tax exemptions or whatever you might for the whatever you're doing on your farm. But you don't need to do that to be considered a business. Both those numbers are easy to get online. They're not difficult to, you can get them virtually instantly and use them instead of your social security number if you'd like. The size of your operation also doesn't matter. We grow on less than an acre, operate it like a business, make a profit, and we are a farm. You can have 100 acres and not be a farm if you're not acting like a farm, or if you can be growing things but not acting like a business and not making a profit off of it. So scale is not what makes you farm either. So those are it's how you act and how you behave, and whether you are working to make a profit.